The fourth key, the key of cycles. Celebrate change because change is all there is. Man was made for joy and woe, and when this we rightly know, through the world we safely go. William Blake. Here or henceforward, it is all the same to me. I accept time absolutely. Walt Whitman. Song of Myself. The fourth key. I work with a woman who has diagnosed her greatest anxiety problem as the full gas tank syndrome. Here's how she describes it. I never can feel at peace unless I have the sense that everything in the past is resolved and everything in the future looks rosy. I never like to set off on a drive, for example, unless I have just gassed up the car so the tank is brimming. The trouble is, once I start to drive, the gas gauge needle begins to drop, and then I worry, how far can I get on this tank of gas? When should I fill it up again? I can't tell you how much time and energy I waste wishing that everything would just, quote, get done, unquote, and remain that way, and that the tank would just stay full forever. Now, this is a very bright woman who sees precisely the paradox she faces. The only way to get gas tank to stay full externally, of course, would be never to go anywhere. But standing still is not an option. Like all of us, she has places to go, things to do, and like all of us, she must come to terms with the fact that life, and therefore a change, goes on. Full and empty, back and forth, up and down. Cycles of change are everywhere. The tides come in and out. The moon waxes and wanes. And even those of you who may not be nature buffs have probably noticed interest rates rise and fall. And the stock market grows bearish, then bullish. Our own bodies are constantly engaging in cycles. Our skin sheds and regenerates. Our blood circulates. Our bladders fill and demand to be emptied. Without paying much attention, we inhale and exhale numerous times in the course of each minute. Change is inevitable, a law of the universe. In fact, it is hardly an overstatement to say change is the law of the universe. Subatomic quanta, the stuff of which all matter is made, shift from particles to waves and back again. Everything is metamorphosizing all of the time. All is a process and flux. It stands to reason that to feel at home in the world, one must feel at home with change. To be composed and at ease, one must accept that the only permanent thing is impermanence. Alas, most of us anxiously struggle against change. Instead of feeling at one with it, we stubbornly resist it, at odds with change. We think we are being very clever and tricky in the ways we try to subvert change. Sometimes we try to deny change, other times we attempt to defy it. A common tactic for trying to deny change goes something like this. We consider our lot in life and evaluate its deficiencies. Quote, life would be pretty good if only this or that would change, we think. If only I had more money, for example, or if only I could lose 10 pounds. We then process to torture ourselves by anxiously obsessing about what we want, wishing for it, fantasizing about getting it, and envying and resenting others who we imagine already have what we want. The catch is that when we are in the busy mindset, we do very little to impact positively and influence change. We refuse to work with the dynamic of change and take constructive action. Instead, we convince ourselves that despite evidence to the contrary, nothing will ever change. So we opt to mope instead of daring to hope. Conversely, a common tactic for attempting to defy change works like this. We go along day to day, and then suddenly something especially wonderful befalls us. We get something we've had our hearts set on for a long time. That promotion, let's say, or a marriage proposal from the love of our life. So what do? We go into a mild panic. Quote, this good fortune can't last, unquote, we tell ourselves. Sooner or later, something is bound to change, unquote. Unquote, unquote. We become anxiously preoccupied with imagining exactly what sort of disasters jealous gods or other petty entities might have in store for us. Once our proverbial party is over, then we begin racking our busy minds for ways in which we can undermine the natural flow of things and keep circumstances precisely as they are forevermore. We rehearse over and over again ways of explaining our good fortune to our friends and relations and even to ourselves, so that it does not seem quite so good after all. We get a wee bit obsessed with knocking on wood and not stepping on cracks. We attempt to make ourselves inconspicuous as possible so as not to attract attention, as if we could become invisible and make time stand still. Freud wrote that our possibilities for happiness are, quote, restricted by our constitution, unquote. You can clearly see what he means. Having an opportunity for happiness fall into our lap, our first response typically is to dread not having that exact happiness always. We cancel out all the joy of the moment by trying in vain to defy change and freeze frame one moment for all eternity. It calls to mind the story of a man who believed that each of us is allotted only a certain number of breaths in a life, and so decided that by holding his breath he could live forever. Guess how well that strategy worked? The fact is, no matter how hard we work at it, and no matter how much nervous energy we devote, change will not be denied and cannot be defied. We can wallow in hopelessness, saying, quote, things will never change, unquote. We can anxiously invoke every superstition known to humankind and plead with the cosmos. Quote, pretty please don't let anything alter, unquote. But that pesky, restless cosmos persists in rearranging things. And neither the, quote, things, unquote, themselves nor the emotions and attitudes they evoke in us will ever be anything but impermanent. Like it or not, change is always with us and within us. So what if, for a change, so to speak, we actively choose to like it? Understanding the key of cycles. The fourth key to calm, the key of cycles, says, celebrate change because change is all there is. By not embracing change, we create high levels of anxiety because we persist in perceiving as perilous the most fundamental and ubiquitous aspects of the world we inhabit. Since life is change, to be continually anxious in the face of change is to contract a bad case of life phobia. Acrophobics who fear heights might be able to construct a life without venturing on to too many bridges and mountaintops. Hydrophobics who fear water might be able to exist quite tolerably while remaining recalcitrantly landlocked. But can a lifeophobe avoid life? Lots of us try. By persisting in equating feelings of calm and security exclusively with fixity and permanence, we are distancing ourselves from life. It's as if we are trying our damnedest to stay rooted to one spot while situated on a racing locomotive. We are missing the entire point, not to mention the entire ride. Ironically, the sense of incongruity that results from trying vainly to embrace two distinctly opposed concepts actually increases our feelings of insecurity. The more we believe only permanence will, quote, save us, the more jittery we are bound to become, as such permanence continually eludes us. If we were to genuinely pay attention and bring awareness to the situation, we would have to admit to ourselves the obvious. True peace and calm can be attained only by acquiescing to change and by staying flexible in the face of life's fluidity. You probably haven't given it much thought, but consider for a minute what existence would be like if nothing around you progressed and changed. Let's say you could press a pause button on your life right now and keep your finger holding it down. There would be no more music or dancing, of course, because there would only be one note playing monotonously on and on. You'd never get to see the sun set since it wouldn't. You could forget about running water since it couldn't. Besides all that, no one would ever pick up your trash again, and your toddlers would never graduate from their huggy pull-ups phase. Oh boy, now obviously this is anything but a common scenario. It's more like an episode of The Twilight Zone. But it is the logical extension of what so many of us think we want. Its eeriness and ridiculousness are worthy pondering when we feel ourselves denying or resisting an inevitable change. The key of cycles in action. Embracing change and celebrating it is no effortless task because of the way our busy mind thinks. Perhaps nothing is as easy to advise and as hard to do as, quote, going with the flow, unquote. But here's the good news. In the course of evolution, only those who adapted as circumstances altered survived and thrived. It's fair to say that not one of us would be here now if we weren't fundamentally capable of change at the deepest of levels. And at such primordial level, calm mind holds sway. To translate the key of cycles into action, we need once again to allow our calm mind to play a role The calm mind does not concern itself with fear in future changes or regret in past ones, because it is always in the moment. And because it is always in the moment, it is totally able to respond to exactly what is happening as it happens. The calm mind accepts life's up and downs, not because it is philosophically resigned, but because it is instinctively moving along with them. One might say the calm mind doesn't experience up and downs as such, but instead experiences each instant of every incline or decline as just that, one instant, riding the waves from crest to trough. It is at one with the wave. There is an old Zen parable about a man who is being chased by a tiger. To evade the beast, the man jumps off the edge of the cliff and clings to a vine. Climbing down the vine, he spies another tiger below. The vine begins to break. The man notices a strawberry growing on the side of the cliff, which he plucks and enjoys. Now imagine the busy mind in such a situation. Its deafening chatter would probably go something like, "Yikes, that was close. Oh my gosh, what's gonna happen now? Oh gee, it's another tiger. I bet he'll chase me too. I'm sure he will. I wish he wouldn't. I wish I'd stayed in bed. Woe is me. Oh please, God, or someone in charge. I just want to hang here forever. How the vine is tearing? Give me a break, I'm doomed." Whether or not the second tiger gives chase, of course, this busy mind is indeed doomed. It is doomed always to miss out on the good things life has to offer. In a way, each of us is suspended between perils. As the late Gilda Radner liked to remind us, sooner or later, quote, "it's always something," unquote. But what if we, like our trusty Zen traveler, were able to notice and experience just one valuable thing in any given situation, rather than fearing what might or might not happen next? The next time you catch yourself obsessively wishing that circumstances would change, only in a particular way, or praying they will never again change at all, gently usher yourself out of the trap you have set for yourself. Do this by looking for and focusing on something worthwhile that is right in front of you. The quote, "strawberry," unquote. Suppose there is no strawberry, you say? Suppose I am in a situation where there is nothing whatsoever worthwhile? But what situation could have no strawberry at all? Of course, you may not literally chance across a tasty delicacy to delight in every time you're feeling anxious about the future. But many things other than sensual pleasures are worthy of commanding our full attention. Try looking at each situation with curiosity. Is there anything in your immediate circumstance about which you could learn and understand more? Begin to observe and study that thing, and your busy mind will quiet down. Try looking at your situation with creativity. There is something that could inspire you to write, to draw, to make music. As Paul Celan advised, quote, "right now at a moment in time is fleeting by. Capture its reality in paint. To do that, we must put all else out of our minds," unquote. Try looking around you with compassion. In your immediate circumstance, do you notice anyone who could use your understanding or encouragement? Then make yourself useful. Remember the second key to calm: assisting anyone in precisely the way they need to be assisted is an excellent way of grounding oneself in the now and keeping the busy mind from dwelling on what may or may not happen next. Even in the bleakest of situations, try looking at what surrounds you with an open, non-judgmental, calm mind, and you will probably see that there is always something worthwhile to focus on with awareness, something to appreciate. Even our pains and troubles can be appreciated for instructing and strengthening us, and even they are less frightening when we are willing to observe them rather than struggle against them. Make no mistake, immersing yourself in the moment will not prevent change. And fear not, your newfound ability will not rob you of your powers to make certain prudent plans for the future based on educated guesses. Your awareness of, quote, strawberries, unquote, however, will help you to be detached from your anxiety concerning life's continual vacillations and transitions. What's more, it will help you make the most of the many opportunities that transitions offer. For where there is infinite change, there is infinite possibility. The key of cycles is about letting yourself dance the dance and sing the song without fast forwarding your brain to the final note. It must also be said that part of being a human being, is being conscious of the fact that someday, at some point, all of our songs and all of our dances, as we now know them, will encounter an ultimate transition from life to whatever lies beyond life. For the undeniable, inherently logical extension of the law of change is that change and mortality are inseparable bedfellows. Now, you may hardly consider this a common thought and not wish to be reminded of it. However, in the fifth key to calm, the key of cessation, you will see how the inevitability of death, the ultimate change, can help rather than hinder us in our continuing search for serenity. Hi, my friend. Wagwan.